This guy's toast.
Hey guys, this guy's Toast here. Today I wanted to do something different and talk about a subject that's been on my mind for a little while, and that is the topic of inconsistencies in Hearthstone. Originally I was going to do this video before the Grand Tournament was released, but I ended up waiting till after to see if Blizzard would address or fix any of them in the new expansion. Unfortunately, this was not the case. In fact, the Grand Tournament ended up adding even more inconsistent behavior to the game. So what do I mean when I say inconsistency? Basically, it's when the text of a card implies a different outcome than what actually happens. Let's take a look at a few examples here, so you guys have a better idea of what I'm talking about. So first up, we have Druid of the Claw. So Druid of the Claw's card text reads, choose one, charge or +2 health and taunt. Now as you know, Druid of the Claw transformed into a new beast minion, and the health buff is not silenceable. Now let's compare it with all the other Druid of the Blank cards, so Druid of the Flame, of the Fang, and of the Saber. And you'll notice that they all have the word transform in it. And as we've seen with other transform cards like Polymorph and Tankmaster, transform effects are permanent and cannot be silenced. Basically, Druid of the Claw is missing the transform keyword. This inconsistency is further increased by two other cards, Ancient of War and Anodized Robocup. In these two cards' cases, their buffs are silenceable, so the attack and health bonus can be removed, and they share the exact same wording as Druid of the Claw. So what you end up getting is a card that has the card text of these two cards, but the behavior of these three cards. Suppose you show a brand new player these 5 cards with just the card text, and you ask them, which behavior group do you expect Druid of the Claw to belong to? They would of course pick the group with the exact same wording. This inconsistency has been around since closed beta. Like ever since the game was available, people's been asking, why do they have the exact same wording if they're going to behave differently? And with each expansion that gets released, this inconsistency gets more obvious. And my suggestion to fix this is simply just make it the same as Druid of the Saber, include the transform keyword, choose one, transform to gain charge or +2 health and taunt. So let's move on. At number 2, we have fake draw effects. In Hearthstone, there are several cards that triggers off draws, such as Chromagus, Shadow Fiend, Flame Leviathan, and Sea Reaver. But there are currently some cards that draw cards, but that doesn't work with them, namely Tracking, King's Alec, and Warrior Rin. Now keep in mind all these cards use the word draw in the text, so they should all work with cards that triggers off draws. But unfortunately, this is just not the case. None of these cards work with one another. Now this inconsistency was introduced in GVG a long time ago with the introduction of Flame Leviathan, and Blizzard has been aware of it at least since Blackrock Mountain. They've also said that they consider tracking not working with Chromagus to be a bug, but it's been several months now, and they still haven't done anything about it. If Blizzard is unable to fix these fake draw effects to work properly, then I would suggest changing the card text on them to read put into your hand, to avoid these inconsistencies. Now, let's look at Jaraxxus and the demon cards. So when we talk about Jaraxxus, we're referring to him in his hero mode, not as a minion. So when Hearthstone was first released, there was only one card that had demon as a targeting requirement, which was Sacrificial Pact. And people soon found out that you could Sacrificial Pact an enemy Jaraxxus, and it kinda established that as a hero, Jaraxxus is still considered a demon. And then GVG came around, which introduced us to Mal'Ganis, which provides your other demons +2/+2. Of course, people soon found out that the demons in this case did not include Jaraxxus, which resulted in many people taking to online forums and Twitter to ask the developers why this is. Now, going by card text alone, they should both work with Jaraxxus, as Sacrificial Pact has already confirmed that Jaraxxus himself is a demon. The explanation we got from Blizzard instead was, as seen in this tweet from community manager Zariah, is that auras affect minions only, so there is no need to add the word minion to Mal'Ganis' abilities. I'm not 100% happy with this explanation, as aura effects are never mentioned in any of the writing for the game. How can we tell what is an aura effect and what isn't? Couldn't one also consider Mal'Ganis' other ability, the one that gives your hero immune, an aura effect, as it is providing immunity to him as long as he is alive? With the release of TGT, things get even more inconsistent. We saw the arrival of two new cards, Light's Champion and Demon Fuse. Both, like Sacrificial Pact, required a demon target for their abilities. Keep in mind at this point, no card has allowed a hero to be silenced or a hero to be stat buffed, so there is no precedence for either of these cards to work with Jiraxxus. Now this is where things get weird. Light's Champion ended up being able to be used on Jiraxxus, while Demon Fuse is not. So now we have 4 cards that specifically affects demons, with 2 of them actually only working with demon minions. Mal'Ganis is said to be using an aura effect which only affects minions, but Demon Fuse only requires a demon target. Look, I'm totally fine if the reason for Mal'Ganis or Demon Fuse not working with Jiraxxus is for balance reasons. Truth to be told, a double Demon Fuse Jiraxxus that hits for 7 each turn is pretty damn powerful. But with each expansion releasing demon-related cards, I'm just afraid that eventually it'll get too out of hand for new players trying to figure out which of these demon cards will actually work with Jiraxxus. The good news is, Blizzard is currently aware of this inconsistency and has cited that it is not an ideal situation for the card. As seen in this Reddit post, Ben Bro raised the point about the dangers of just adding the word minions to Mal'Ganis or Demon Fuse. Basically, imagine in the next expansion that Blizzard releases a hunter legendary card called the Huffinator, a beast that replaces your hero. Now the question is, which of the existing beast card will work with the Huffinator and not be completely broken? You gotta consider guys like Houndmaster, Ram Wrangler, Bestial Wrath, Kill Command, etc. And the same goes for mech heroes, but if there's a new mech hero, a new dragon hero, at what point do you draw the line between what's broken and what's not? And do you have to add minions to all the ones that you think can work well? Ben Bro has also said that while they currently have no plans to make any changes between the option of adding the word minion to Demon Fuse and Mal'Ganis, or removing Sacrificial Pact and Light's Champion's ability to target Jiraxxus, they will rather go with the second one, which is removing the interaction altogether. Personally, I'm fine with either option, but like all the other inconsistencies, I feel like this should be addressed now rather than several expansions down the road where it reaches a point where Blizzard can no longer ignore it. There's already been multiple posts on Reddit poking fun at people who waste their Sacrificial Pact on an Inferno when their opponent is Jiraxxus. Now, it's easy for us older players to spot it, but look at this from the perspective of a newer player, and consider the 4 demon cards. Which one of them sees the most plays? It's gonna be Mal'Ganis. It's not insanely rare to see both Mal'Ganis and Jiraxxus on the board at the same time, and since new players sees that Mal'Ganis is not working with Jiraxxus, it's not crazy for them to think, I guess when Jiraxxus is a hero, he loses the demon tag, which isn't the case. But they wouldn't know otherwise unless, they see it themselves, they see it in a post, or they Google it. And for our last example, we have whenever effects. So, there are 2 types of cards that triggers when you do something. One that triggers before, which will say whenever, and one that triggers after, which will say after. The easiest example being Violet Teacher and Wall Pyromancer. No matter what order you play them with, if you have them both on the field, every time you cast a spell, the Wall Pyromancer is going to barbecue the Violet Apprentice. And similar to other mechanics like Death Rattle, when you have 2 minions that are supposed to trigger at the same time, then the order is based on the play order. So playing a Flamewaker, then a Pyromancer means that is the order they're triggered in. If you reverse it by playing a Pyromancer and then a Flamewaker, then the order gets reversed as well. There's currently only 1 minion that will trigger after you play another minion, Knife Juggler. But we have many cards that will trigger whenever you play a minion, i.e. before the battle cry goes off. So Illidan, Hobgoblin, Undertaker, Questing Adventure. So where does the inconsistency come in? There are currently 2 cards that reads whenever you summon a minion, but behaves as if it reads after you summon a minion. The 2 cards being Sword of Justice and Ship's Cannon. In this example, we play Ship's Cannon, One-Eyed Cheat, and Knife Juggler in that order. And then we play Bloodsail Corsair. Now keep in mind, Ship's Cannon and One-Eyed Cheat both trigger whenever you summon a minion, and Knife Juggler triggers after you summon a minion. And if all the texts are correct, it should go Cannon, Cheat, Bloodsail Corsair Battlecry, and finally the Knife Juggler triggers. But as you can see, Cheat went first, followed by the Battlecry, and then Cannon, and then Knife Juggler. which confirms the inconsistency that Ship's Cannon triggers only after you play a minion. We can further confirm this by switching the order of Ship's Cannon and Knife Juggler again. And just like Death Rattles, only triggers that happen at the same time are affected by play orders. As we see this time around, Knife Juggler triggers first, as it is played first, followed by Ship's Cannon. You can do the same experiment with Sword of Justice and get the same result. It's hard to tell if these two cards are bugged or if Blizzard just doesn't want to change the wording to properly reflect behavior. The text change is straightforward enough, it's just changing whenever to after. I first brought this up to a senior member on the Hearthstone team about 8 months ago after I covered this in one of my infographics. But now it's 8 months later and the behavior is still not fixed, nor is the card text changed. And that's all the examples I'll talk about for now. These are all wording that are contradictory to other cards, and sometimes they can cause someone to lose a game, which, really hurts the game experience for them. Let me just say, I love Hearthstone, and I consider myself insanely lucky to even have a viewer base for my content. I want to help make the game better. I wanted to make a video so that people can be more informed about these inconsistencies, so that hopefully Blizzard would be more proactive in addressing them. New players already have a hard time entering the game, with expansions and adventures to purchase, with learning the card text, with going up against players with much bigger collections than them in casual mode. They shouldn't also have to deal with figuring out these inconsistencies. Yes, there are some cards where you just have to play to learn what it does, like Ysera or any of the spare part cards. You have to play them to fully understand them. But these inconsistencies that we just covered are cards that have conflicting and misleading card text, with most of them being fixable with just updating the text to reflect the proper behavior. We're not asking for any of the balance change, we're just asking for text update so that those cards reflect what they're actually doing. That's gonna do it for me, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what you thought about this video by commenting below. I know it's quite different from the usual stuff, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think these inconsistencies warrant any action from Blizzard? Have you noticed any other inconsistencies in the game? Let me know. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more Hearthstone content.
Hey, lights out.